hope, a story of a vision that is coming forth in the most beautiful way. Located in the heart of San Pedro, Little Nazareth is indeed a beacon of great hope. Join us as we discover the tremendous vision in this little place. Join us on our visit to Little Nazareth. Hello, with this week's feature story, I am Tessa Habet. Our feature story is brought to you by Pink Boutique. Pink Boutique, where you can get a variety of items from toys and children's clothes to graduation dresses, shoes, blouses, handbags, swimsuits, and jewelry for the grown and sophisticated. Whether you're going to the Keys for a relaxing day on the beach or having dinner at a fancy restaurant, Pink Boutique has got you covered. Pink Boutique is located at 2.5 miles on the Philip Golson Highway. You can keep up with promotions and sales on their Facebook or Instagram pages at Pink Boutique Belize or call at 223-1552. Located in the heart of beautiful San Pedro, sitting on a plot of 6 acres, Little Nazareth has certainly captured many of the features of its namesake in the Bible. It's truly a grand vision that unfolded over time.
When you're assigned as a pastor to the people, you fall in love with your people. And you want to bring everyone to Jesus. And they say that you're responsible not just for the Catholics, or you're responsible for everyone who lives in your parish boundaries. And so when I signed to San Pedro, I'm very aware that I'm responsible for the salvation of every single soul that lives on this island. And you may not be aware of this. Sometimes, although there's very godly people that have their roots in this island, there's a lot of temptations that lead people away from God and makes it actually very difficult to receive that word.
I lost a family for sure, for a few days they had left home, and that was like my bottom right there. When I realized, what I loved the most had left. So I decided I wanted a change in my life and I wanted my family back. I stopped drinking March 30th, 2000. So that is over 21 years ago.
When I was younger, I used to drink a lot. And when I found out, I started to go to church almost every day. And now I am very, very close to the church, so I miss it and I won't leave it again. I would never go back to what I was before.
I mean, the man we have there, his name is Roberto, who's lived there on the property for years. I've never seen a man love chickens as much as he does. It's like a St. Francis himself. It's amazing to see this man care for them. He himself was a recovering addict. And an alcoholic who was on the streets. And now he has purpose.
For behold, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the peoples. But the Lord will rise upon you, and his glory will appear over you.
I was born here on the island in 1964, and I lived the usual island style life, which involved a lot of drinking for sure. That is, people are on vacation here in San Pedro, and therefore they drink on their vacation, and we locals, we tend to want to be on vacation full time and drink full time. So, for sure I got into trouble after a few years of drinking. And at the age of 33, I decided to go to a rehab center, and I was recommended a center in Mérida by the name of Cotolengo, where a couple hundred alcoholics live in sober living, and it's run by the Catholic Church.
I think of the parable of the thorns, worldly anxieties. It's very present here, and it's difficult. And so you can preach, you can work, but it's hard to take root in people and bear fruit. And so as a priest, you want everyone to love Jesus. And I realize there's a lot of soil that needs to be tilled before people can even come to know him. And so when Mr. Escalante was so generous for different, as we went from one land to this larger land, for about 6 acres given to the service of the church, deep in my heart, especially with his vision for education and a rustic environment, it was very clear from the beginning that we want to keep this very rustic.
I started here when it was just basically what you see on the, well, basically just, jungle, right? And there's a little bit clear, like from these trees on maybe 50 feet in, where the little house is. That was it, that's what was clear. So as we went along with different people that we met, so forth, that they came and they started to clear little piece by little piece. And so it didn't have not much but big trees and bush and rustic, I would say the word would be. And I says, well, this is something nice, to find peace when I come here. Anytime in the morning, it would be sometimes in the afternoon when I come, And it was challenging, of course. People came and they would come to this poisonous ivy, chechem, that we call here. And some people don't come back after that, right? Or the bee attack, or red ants biting. And some people will come a week. Some people, it's just back and forth with the struggle of handling this rustic environment, I would say, right? It's really uplifting. It makes me feel that he's not done. He's not done with me. He's not done with the place. And there is hope, and that was the first thing that I saw when I saw the vision here. There's hope on making a difference in this community.
I lost a family for sure, for a few days they had left home, and that was like my bottom right there. When I realized, what I loved the most had left. And I decided I wanted to change. I lived in a society, we can say the most alcoholic society in the country of Belize, San Pedro. And that's what I knew, drinking, So I decided I wanted a change in my life, and I wanted my family back. And I went to that center to get my family back, but I stayed there for myself.
You begin to see now, at least I saw as a pastor for 7 years in San Pedro, that the effects of that distance from the gospel and understanding. Everyone loves God, everyone prays it in their own way, but we need more, and you see it. You can't live a double life. We need everything. Jesus wants us to have everything, all our hearts, all our minds. But it's starting to now show its effects in family life.
For us, we believe that alcoholism is a disease. It does not happen to the moderate drinker. And people will tend to say, oh no, this one stopped drink by himself. And our answer to that is that person was not an alcoholic. He drank like an alcoholic, but he really did not have the physical allergy of the disease. Because the other one with the physical allergy, the wife is gone, family is gone, the jobs are gone, all the good things in life are gone. And the doctor will tell him, you better stop drinking or you'll die, and he still doesn't stop drinking. And that is the person that suffers from the physical allergy of alcoholism, not only the mental obsession. We know alcoholism as a disease with two major symptoms. Number one, the mental obsession that takes you to the first drink. Number two, the physical allergy that does not allow us to stop drinking, and that is the alcoholic.
Only the love of Jesus can transform our lives, heal our deepest hurts, and set us free from the vicious circles of disappointment, anger, and constant complaint.
Alcoholics Anonymous program, to make it simple, is a program where stubborn people, alcoholics, will find God, because it is written in their language. If I go to church, it's a beautiful thing, but that's not my language. I will not understand it. If I hear it from another alcoholic who probably I sat drinking in big trouble, and today he's a good man, you know, I will believe him.
Tengo más o menos año y medio de que vine acá.
He's been here like a year and a half. He's, found that he met a lot of people by being here that have the courtesy of reaching out with him with a hand, a plate of food, whatsoever has helped him in being here and motivated him in being here.
Es decir, mi propósito es no estar pidiendo nada ni en...
He loves the spot because it's peaceful, it's where he finds tranquility.
Alguien y que me respeten más que todo, pues porque yo respeto a toda la gente.
I was born here. I saw various generations of alcoholics, really. For example, my grandfather generation, I remember most of them being lost to alcoholism. Maybe the ignorance, maybe the lack of church, maybe at his stage, in his time. Something wasn't there, but most of my grandfather generation were lost in alcoholism. And then I saw another generation, my father's generation, people that were very instrumental to the development of this community. And they drank, and they were fishermen, and they made money. And a lot of them drank too much, but most of them could handle it, So when I started drinking, I was confused about if I'm an alcoholic or not, because they used to say, Saul, you're a nice guy, but when you drink, you're like your grandfather. And I used to say, no, I'm like my father. He drinks two drinks of whiskey and goes home, and he's a very respected man in this community. And the fact was that I wasn't like my father. I wanted to be like my father, but I was like my grandfather. So that's why I strongly believe in the physical allergy of the disease. I think it is a wonderful thing the day that me and Father Scott got together and he invited me to do this project. I think it was a God shot, like we say, that the Catholic Church can do this project.
The inspiration for this beautiful gift to the church came from a very special place.
I was lucky to have a very devoted wife, devoted to the Blessed Mother and to myself, of course. But she only went up to standard 6. She didn't have a secondary. But to me, she had a doctorate. She was able to cook, to bake, to sew. She made her own clothes from when she was 12 years old. I was so impressed with her. And she was so devoted to the Blessed Mother that when we moved to live here, we brought a statue of the Blessed Mother and had it. When they needed land, I was speaking with Father, and I told him that I am willing to give you 1.25 acres of my land from the road to the beach. My brother found out what I was doing. I speak to him. He says, I will give you, except for 2 lots, I will give you 6 acres instead of 1.25 acres. So I told him, I would like to offer this then, which can house many more things.
And with this gift, the work began, and as faith would have it, the vision grew.
We already have on the property St. Joseph's workshop. It's a perfect place, Little Nazareth, where St. Joseph worked, right? We have in construction St. Joseph's Chapel. So a place where we're going to be praying over there. And it's a very rustic chapel, really built on the penance of a lot of men and a lot of volunteers. And now we're about to start very soon the St. Francis Recovery Center. So the connections that God is doing is amazing. It's like, this is God's project. I'm just sort of going along for the ride, and it's beautiful, really beautiful to see what God is doing and what God's gonna do. You know, all we've seen is we just have to say yes, and then God makes the connections. He'll bring the personalities, the people, and you just sort of have to be open to it.
Recovery for the alcoholic is a beautiful thing when it is a partnership between the Catholic Church and Alcoholics Anonymous recovery groups. You know, our program, which comes in the form of 12 steps, is a program that deals with the points of admission of the alcoholism, and then it deals with the analysis of your personality and your mental healing, and the resetting of personal relationships, dependence on God, and working with others. So when we put the program itself together with the support system of the church, you know, it is a really good combination. I believed in it from day one when I got to my recovery center in Merida. I saw how powerful it was, you know, because here in Belize we have a problem. We have several recovery groups which do a wonderful job, yet do not have the maintenance after they get out of the rehab center, you know, do not have the support system that goes with recovery, that goes with sobriety, with sober living. So when they're out, you know, since they're in lack of that strength, it just takes months or a couple of years and they go right back to what they're doing. We are very fortunate here in San Pedro that we have been guided by the church and by friends that are in the global sober community, which includes groups mostly of Alcoholics Anonymous and even Narcotics Anonymous. And they have helped us in every way in establishing probably the strongest support system in our tiny country.
So we're sitting in the Rock Chapel here, and it's been a very painful process. But any kind of work, I remember when we built San Pablo Chapel, it usually comes with great challenges, because it's going to be, what's going to happen there, there's going to be Mass celebrated there. And it's going to be a place where the community gathers. And the foundation of this Rock Chapel began with an invitation to the men of the island. Sometimes in our church, men have struggled finding a place, their spirituality, I find. And so the women pray and the men sit outside or something like this. And all too much in the Catholic Church, men don't find a place where they can share the gifts and contribute. And that can't happen. It just doesn't work that way. But unfortunately, though, there have been sins by men on the island, and grave sins in this little island, and it's not okay. And that those sins need reparation. Jesus has died for those sins, but we can share in that work of reparation through our prayer and sacrifice. But I think it's important that we name the sins, because there's almost a culture where we almost defend one another in sinful behavior of infidelity or drunkenness or dishonesty in business practices. And we'll never get better, never build something beautiful when we're building our lives on a lie. And so repentance and repentance are essential parts of conversion. And so come Lent, I invited men to join me to go to the north of the island and crack rocks. Big, heavy rocks that you can't move unless you have 2, 3, sometimes 4 guys with you. And we cracked these rocks, and Jesus, he knew where we were going. He had the material, local guides, and leading us and guiding us. And we get these big piles of rocks. But 7 guys show up one day, 5 the other one. We had 9 the other day. And we went once every 2 weeks, And we went out there and filled the trailer with rocks. And those rocks, the idea is we're offering that sacrifice for the sins of the men on the island. And you cut your hand and you feel the pain in your body. But then you sit around with those same guys and you crack jokes and you share and you talk and you encourage one another. It's real, it's authentic. Those very rocks, they're a symbol of sin, But those same rocks which we offered up for the sins of the men were carried here to this same very land of Little Nazareth, and they were used for the very foundation of this chapel, in which we're building now, continuing to build this church, and hopefully, please God, it will be a place where we offer up the sacrifice of the Mass. The very Mass where the blood of Christ is made present again for the sins of the world, including the very men that have sinned on this island. And so we have hope.
Institutions like the Catholic Church, which has proven to be the most trustworthy and best institution to work with, even in our little country. In Belize, we have 5 of our 17 groups in the country of Belize meeting at the Catholic churches in our country. The first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous in the country of Belize was done by a Catholic priest, Father Hunter, in 1963 at the Holy Redeemer Cathedral. So that tells you our long relationship with the Catholic Church, no? It's really worked well, and not only for our country, overall, worldwide.
This area really looks like something that could help people around, so that they could get out of trouble, out of just drinking and walking on the streets. They are doing nothing and things like that. They could come here, visit here. They could even, you see the place, it's dirty, it needs a lot of work. They could even come and give us a hand to clean and enjoy it. And then the same people could learn a trade. They are going to teach people to do like plumbing, electrical, and welding and things like that. No?
Good day and blessings to one and all. The San Pedro Town Council has formed a helping partnership with the San Pedro Catholic Church. This is to bring better services to the community with a vocational area, a recovery center, and a chapel. Little Nazareth is an exemplary project that we are fully supporting. Best wishes to the Catholic Church, and we hope that the community can chip in to support this amazing project.
The process of recovery comes in the form of 12 steps that deal with the acceptance of a higher power first and foremost. Since 1935, the psychologists had been working endlessly to find us psychotherapy that would work for us alcoholics, or a medicine that would make us stop drinking. And then this psychologist by the name of Carl Jung, who was protege to Sigmund Freud, the father of psychology, he got tired of working there and finally decided to, had a few cases, decided to twist his arm and say, you know what, we have the description of your disease, but we do not have the cure. The description is what I just shared, the mental obsession, the spirit, the physical allergy. But the medicine, we believe, of your disease, alcoholism, he called it in a formula, spiritus contra spiritus, the spirit of God replacing the bad spirit of alcoholism. And from then on, from that day, our program started working because they had led God with their work, which is the cure of alcoholism.
In that day the root of Jesse will stand as a banner for the peoples. The nations will rally to him, and his resting place will be glorious.
I've had the privilege of going to the Holy Land like 7 times and visiting Nazareth, visiting the home of St. Joseph and Our Lady. And they didn't live in a palace. They lived like in a cave. And they didn't have electricity back then. It was a very simple place, a rustic place, but it was a place filled with love. It was a place where they worked hard, I'm sure St. Joseph. It was a place where maybe Our Lady did take care of the chickens. It was a place where I'm sure other people came to seek their advice, came to seek their counsel, came to seek just their love, just the presence of Our Lady. And I can sense that here. I can sense the simplicity of Nazareth, you could say. A place where people can come and visit, a place where people can come and recover, a place where people can come and work, a place where people can come and go sort of back to nature. And I think it's going back to the basics.
I think sometimes when we think of Catholic, especially in a Catholic culture, that perhaps where we don't always authentically live our Catholic faith, it has consequences. We use the word scandal. It has consequences in our attitudes to what it means to be Catholic or the Church. And I think people rightly have a distrust or distaste of that kind of representation of the Church that is reduced just to certain practices that we do in the four walls of the Church, or someone who goes on Sunday and has a bad witness outside. And I think for too long can give this bad witness in our church community, and I think people are right to not like that, because it's not witnessing to the fullness of the gospel. But the fullness of the Catholic life is full. It flows from the altar, and it goes right into our homes, and it goes into our workplaces, it goes into our relationships and our marriages, the sorrows of life and the joys of life. And so for having a whole land ordered to holiness, but not in a way that's located only between the 4 walls, but it's located in the farming, it's located in the woodwork, it's located in the jokes that you share, it's the sweat that you sweat while you're laboring, the volunteer effort, the generosity of the community, giving the fill or the town council for providing the labor to help clearing. And what's beginning to happen is people who perhaps may not be as close to the gospel, they have opportunity to show their goodness in different ways. And they realize that, not everyone is going to be praying the novenas in the Catholic Church. But to be a disciple isn't limited to praying novenas in the Catholic Church, as valuable as that is. But the whole church has a diversity. It's in the body of Christ. We have this beautiful diversity that we have, where people can radiate the gospel and its goodness in many ways. Now we have the vocations of priests, sisters, and laity. But even among each vocation, you have the personalities and the intelligence and the strength of will, the creative spirits, the gifts that individuals have. And when we come together and we bring that together and it's free, you have something very beautiful that happens. And it takes a life on its own. It's very slow when it goes, right? It's like the mustard seed that grows. But it can't be denied. And then right now, especially when we're going out here, I remember when you just have bush and you see something, right? You see what you want to come to, and people just don't see it, of course, right? And so you're left alone, trying to clear the land or doing whatever you do, and you try to get some people, and the people who are very close to you will support you, and they come out, and then the whole group gets to Chen. Cutting the trees, or when we were clearing the land, we upset a bunch of bees. I remember coming in here, and I followed in the machine. I was a little late behind, and sure enough, I heard the sound, zzz, and before I knew, I was surrounded by a swarm of bees, stung 33 times. I'd be rushed to the cat clinic. And so these are the types of sacrifice, even from the beginning of the land. I knew from the beginning how it started that bad things happened on this land, very dark things, things being buried here when garbage, bad things happen. It was a place where evil people who chose evil came to hide. And so one of the first things that I realized we need to do, we build a hermitage. And it was a place of prayer. I came out here and I had adoration all day. I would just pray on this island and ask God to bless this land. And that was the work. I thought I was going to spend even more time, just live out here forever, but responsibilities are a little different. You can't do that yet. Huh? But long hours of prayer before the Blessed Sacrament was really the beginning of the tilling of this land. And it came with much sacrifice hidden to people, you know. But now you actually see things. And it's beautiful to see people begin to get inspired and share their ideas and their contributions. And people come and people go. But I really hope that everyone who does come and contributes, whether it be a short time or a long time, they know they've met God. They know they've done God's work. They're part of something bigger than themselves. And I really believe that the beauty of this land will touch many hearts, not just Catholics, but it touches many people who come here to pray or to enjoy the solitude of the natural beauty, or to come here to recover. Come to this land to heal.
The work of building has started even as lives are already being transformed. Little Nazareth carries with it a unique hope for those who cannot see a clear path. The hope of this project lies in the lives that are being transformed, one life, one family at a time. God continues His amazing work in the hearts of His people to bring all to His marvelous redemptive light. And that's our feature. Thanks for watching. For this and more feature stories, you can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or view on Guadalupe Media Channel 96 on CCV or Channel 64 on CBC. You can also tune in on the radio in your car, home, or office at 101.9 FM, and please be sure to download the Guadalupe Media radio app from Google Play or the App Store. Our Blessed Mother, lead us to Jesus.